let's transition and let's go to a matchup in the jungle. Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow. Sunday Night Football as the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Buffalo Bills 24-18 for the Bills. Josh Allen went 26 of 58. He threw for 258 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception for the Bengals. Joe Burrow, he went 31 of 44. He threw for 348 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins maybe had his best performance of the season. 8 receptions, 110 receiving yards for the Bengals. Here's Bengals head coach Zach Taylor after the game.
That came and went.
Well, I thought the way that our defense was playing overall the entire game, you felt like they were in pretty good control, and so we needed to keep that 2-score lead. That was kicking that field goal to go up 2 scores. You felt that was going to put us in big position. Obviously, they're an explosive offense. They went down and scored, and then I was happy that our offense was able to finish it out. That was a big run by Mixon there on the last play of the game that put us in that position. That's something we got to pride ourselves on, is finishing with the ball to close out the game, and so I thought that they did that.
That was Bengals head coach Zach Taylor after the Bengals 24-18 win over the Bills Sunday night here at Paycor Stadium. So, my biggest takeaway from the Bengals 24-18 win over the Buffalo Bills is, can we please stop with this narrative when the Bengals and the Bills face off against each other? Can we please stop with the narrative like this is some big game and like these two teams are evenly matched? Because it's clear that the Cincinnati Bengals are the better football team. I remember after the 2021 season heading into the 2022 season, the Bengals had made the Super Bowl. They did lose that Super Bowl to Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams. But en route to the Super Bowl that year, the Cincinnati Bengals did something that the Buffalo Bills have never done in the playoffs, and that's beat Patrick Mahomes. And so in the offseason, before the 2022 season, everyone was talking about how the biggest threats in the AFC to the Kansas City Chiefs were the Buffalo Bills. And I thought it was disrespectful to the Cincinnati Bengals, considering the Bengals had just beaten Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. But everyone was talking about how, the Bills are the biggest threats in the AFC to the Chiefs. And not only did I hear that, I also heard people say, and when they came out with their quarterback rankings, there were people saying that Josh Allen was better than Joe Burrow. And so after watching the Bengals in their 2 matchups against the Bills, the last 2 times I've seen them play, it is clear that not only is the Cincinnati Bengals a better football team than the Buffalo Bills are, it's clear that Joe Burrow is better than Josh Allen, and it's clear that the biggest threats in the AFC to the kings of the AFC, because I consider the Chiefs the kings of the AFC because they've been to 5 straight AFC championship games. The biggest threats to the Kansas City Chiefs has never been the Buffalo Bills. It's always been the Cincinnati Bengals. And so please, can we kill the narrative of this matchup being 2 evenly matched teams with 2 evenly matched quarterbacks? Because Josh Allen is not on the same level as Joe Burrow, and the Buffalo Bills as a football team are not as good as the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals have the better quarterback. The Cincinnati Bengals also have a better receiving core. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd are better than Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. It's not even close. So And the Bengals damn sure have the better running back. I mean, it ain't even Joe Mixon is better than any of those running backs that the Buffalo Bills have. Now, with that being said, this performance from Joe Burrow makes the Cincinnati Bengals a dangerous football team as we head into the second half of the season. You look at Joe Burrow weeks 5 through 9 compared to weeks 1 through 4 and his production. Weeks 1 through 4, he was 1-3. Weeks 5 through 9, 4-0. Weeks 1 through 4, he completed 58% of his passes. Weeks 5 through 9, 76% of his passes. Weeks 1 through 4, Joe Burrow only had 2 passing touchdowns. Weeks 5 through 9, he has 10 passing touchdowns. Weeks 1 through 4, his yards per pass attempt was 4.8. Weeks 5 through 9, his yards per pass attempt is 7.2. So Joe Burrow is playing at an elite level, and this is why Joe Burrow, in my eyes, is tied with Lamar Jackson as the second best quarterback in the NFL. And I know people want to say, man, you ain't going to get Joe Burrow. Listen, Joe Burrow is phenomenal. He led the Bengals to a Super Bowl. And Joe Burrow, when he's healthy, the Cincinnati Bengals are a Super Bowl contender. But I do believe that so far in his career, Joe Burrow has had more to work with the Bengals than what Lamar Jackson has had to work with with the Ravens. But we'll talk about the Ravens a little bit later on in the show. But this Cincinnati Bengals football team, the way they're playing right now, they definitely are a top 5 team in the NFL. And when you have weapons like Jamar Chase, like T. Higgins, who's starting to come along now, T. Higgins has been playing some good football. I thought he started to play well in that matchup against the 49ers in week 8. And now in week 9, T. Higgins was the best receiver on the field. 8 receptions, 110 receiving yards. And we know that T. Higgins, to me, he's the second receiver on this Bengals team, but he's also the second, the best Robin. Like, I think he's better than even a Devontae Smith with the Eagles. You know, A.J. Brown is their Batman, but I think T. Higgins is better than Devontae Smith. And with the 49ers, Brandon Ayuk, he is the Robin to Deebo Samuel, who's the Batman. I would take T. Higgins over Brandon Ayuk. So I think when it comes to most reliable number 2 receivers in the NFL, it doesn't get much better than T. Higgins, and he's been playing at a high level for the Cincinnati Bengals over the last 2 weeks. And if T. Higgins starts to ball out, this Bengals offense becomes unstoppable. Now, I want to see them run the football more with Joe Mixon. In this game, the Bengals had only 54 rushing yards. Now, in week 8 against the 49ers, an elite defense, offensively, the Bengals, they had, I think, 134 rushing yards. And that's impressive against that 49ers front. But in this game, they only had 54 rushing yards. So you want to see them run the football a little bit more. But offensively, the Bengals will be just fine as long as Joe Burrow is healthy. But the one thing that I'm really impressed with the Bengals the most is defensively. Defensively, over the last 3 weeks, the Bengals have held the Seahawks in week 6. They held them to 13 points. And then in week 8, they held the 49ers to 17 points. And in week 9 against the Bills, they held the Bills to only 18 points. So their last 3 games against good competition in the Seahawks, 49ers, and Bills, they've held all 3 of those opponents to under 20 points. So I can't say enough about the job that defensive coordinator Lou Admiral has done with this Bengals defense. And I've been critical of the Bengals defense. I really have. I've been very critical about that Bengals defense. But the last 3 performances against Seattle, San Francisco, and Buffalo, holding them under 20 points, that is 3 back-to-back-to-back great performances by that Cincinnati Bengals defense. So the Bengals not only have Joe Burrow playing at a high level, defensively, they've also held up their end of the bargain, and the Bengals are playing complimentary football right now. They're playing complimentary football right now, and they are a top 5 team in the NFL the way they're playing right now. They really, really are. Now, when it comes to the Buffalo Bills, I believe that the Buffalo Bills have regressed. And the reason why the Buffalo Bills have regressed is because I don't believe that Sean McDermott is the right head coach that can get the Buffalo Bills to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. When I think about the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills, as I watched this game Sunday night, I watched the Bengals offense flow at a high level, and it was so nice to watch the offense and Joe Burrow get different receivers involved in the offense. You saw Jamar Chase get involved in the offense. You saw Tyler Boyd get involved in the offense, and T. Higgins also had a great performance. Even Joe Mixon had in this game a few receptions out of the backfield. Joe Mixon had 5 receptions, 31 receiving yards. But I see a flow with the Cincinnati Bengals offense. And Zach Taylor, he's not great as a head coach, but I thought he called a pretty good game Sunday night, and he's an offensive head coach. But that's the problem with the Buffalo Bills. Unlike Joe Burrow, who has Zach Taylor, unlike Patrick Mahomes, who has Andy Reid, and unlike Trevor Lawrence, who has Doug Peterson, Josh Allen has Sean McDermott, and he's a defensive head coach. And you look at Josh Allen so far this season, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 2,423 passing yards. He's completing 71% of his passes. But as great as Josh Allen is, I feel like the Buffalo Bills organization needs to make a change at head coach. And it's not saying that Sean McDermott is not a good NFL head coach, because I believe that Sean McDermott has came in and changed the culture in Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills are no longer viewed as a bad football team in the NFL. They are a team that can contend in the AFC, and when you play the Buffalo Bills, you have to bring your A game. So he's changed the culture, but I'm not so sure that Sean McDermott is the right head coach that can get the Buffalo Bills over the hump. They need to bring in an offensive mind, because when I look at this Buffalo Bills offense, it's Josh Allen or bust. They don't have a running game to speak of. Josh Allen, he puts everything on his shoulders. He thinks he can do everything. And the Buffalo Bills coaching staff clearly don't recognize that Josh Allen needs help in this Bills offense. He needs help. I'm looking at these stats in this game. The Bills for the game had 68 rushing yards. 68 rushing yards. And you look at the Bills for the season, they average 108 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 16th in the NFL. But my biggest question for the Buffalo Bills organization is, well, I got 2 questions. One, when are you going to move off of Sean McDermott and realize maybe we need to go and get an offensive head coach? It's an offensive league. An offensive head coach with Josh Allen would make the Buffalo Bills true Super Bowl contenders. Because right now, the Buffalo Bills aren't even playoff contenders. They're only one game over the Las Vegas Raiders. They're only up on the Raiders on one game. Think about that. But they need to go and get a new head coach for Josh Allen. But why didn't the Buffalo Bills get on the phone with the Tennessee Titans and try and trade for Derrick Henry at the trading deadline? Because somebody call into the show and let me know. Somebody, a Buffalo Bills fan out there anywhere, call into the show, 513-203-8655. Why did the Buffalo Bills not make a move for Derrick Henry at the trading deadline? The Tennessee Titans were shopping Derrick Henry. They were shopping Derrick Henry. Do you understand how important Derrick Henry would be to this Buffalo Bills offense and how he would help Josh Allen in this offense. So that's my biggest issue with the Buffalo Bills. They have regressed as a football team. I know they're dealing with a lot of injuries defensively, but at some point, you got to recognize maybe the coach is not the right coach to get you over the hump. And you got to go and make a move for offensive mind at the head coaching position who can help this offense flow and help Josh Allen be put in better situations to be successful. I watch these Bills games, and sometimes I'm thinking, I can't really blame Josh Allen for their shortcomings because Josh Allen has so much on his plate. Joe Burrow has Joe Mixon in the backfield. He has an offensive mind in Zach Taylor as his head coach. Patrick Mahomes has Andy Reid. Trevor Lawrence has Doug Peterson. Okay? So Buffalo needs to figure something out when it comes to their head coach and a running game, or they won't be playoff contenders moving forward. And you look at the Bills' schedule before I get out of here, they are in week 11, they are home against week 10, they are home against the Broncos. And then week 11, they're home against the Jets. But here's where it gets tough. Week 12, they're in Philly. That's a loss. Week 14, because they have a bye week 13. Week 14, they're in Kansas City. That's a loss. Week 15, they're home against the Cowboys. That could be a potential loss. That would be a toss-up in my eyes at the moment. And then week 16, they're in Los Angeles against the Chargers. Week 17, they're home against the Patriots. That's a win. But then week 18, they are in Miami. So the Bills could miss the playoffs. Right now, 5-4. The Bills could miss the playoffs. It's possible. It is really, really possible. 8 games left. It's a tough 8-game stretch. That week 12 game against the Eagles and week 14 against the Chiefs and week 15 against the Cowboys, those 3 games will determine the Buffalo Bills season. But they damn sure got to beat the Broncos and the Jets over the next 2 weeks to have a chance. They got to beat the Broncos and the Jets over the next 2 weeks, or their season could end before December.